Adi Lakshmi.
There was a question in one of the earlier panels about people that invest behind women-oriented themes, and I was very quiet because I wanted to keep it as a surprise. Someone mentioned Vani is, of course, one of the investors, and so am I. I don't invest in startups, though. Full disclaimer. I invest in companies that have reached a certain scale, but I'm sure many of you in the room will. So once they go through the startup challenge and they go through Series A, I am what you would call a Series B investor. But I resonate with a lot of you because I'm also an entrepreneur. I started my first fund, raised money from the local institutions in India just to make it fun. The institutions were not investing in private equity when I started raising money. Today we have 17 institutions across 2 funds. We've also raised money from IFC, part of the World Bank, which is our second fund. And we were thrilled that we had a final exit from our first fund, and the first fund returns, are 4.5x, which puts us at probably the top 1 or 2% in terms of returns of PE funds in the country. I'm only saying this because my talk now is about women as future wealth creators, right? And I'm talking about these numbers and I'm throwing them out there simply because I would love for each of you to be very, very comfortable with that. I think Sarita also mentioned in an earlier panel about how when we talk about brands, everybody's face lights up. And when we talk about money and we talk about terms, we talk about growth, we talk about scaling up, people either look, frightened, intimidated, that's later, but so I want to leave you with a few words, from my journey, okay? I'm going to start by telling you about a book that I found really interesting. It's by Professor Moiro Goylan. I went to the Wharton Business School many years ago, and he's a professor there. And he's written a book called How Today's Biggest Trends Will Collide and Reshape the Future of Everything. So everything that we know today is going to change. And he says that change is really dramatic. It's coming fast. And he actually puts a year on it. He says 2030. 2030 is the year when everything that you know is going to be different. And one of the predictions that I found really interesting, and I hope you do, is that overall the quality of women has increased in a very material way. We talk about how it's been tough for us and all of that, and that's been the past. But how things are changing. And just to give you a sense, the change, if you actually track undergraduate and graduate studies in America, you track the same, and I'm going to give you some data here, right? 40% of married American mothers earn more than their husbands today. 40%. Not 1%, 2%, 5%. Almost half of married American mothers earn more than their husbands, okay? 70% of mothers work outside the home. I was quiet when we talked about women investing. It's a very big theme for us. Why is it a big theme? I love numbers. I'm a math person. I'm a fund manager, okay? I will tell you that it is, and I'm going to use some jargon. You talked about jargon being total addressable market. I'm going to use that because I'm a private equity person. Women control 60 to 80% of all consumption decisions in India. So we are the largest total addressable market, to use his words, of $1.2 trillion, ladies. Let's get the numbers out there, okay? one of the biggest disruptors is women entering the workforce. According to labor force survey reports, labor force participation has been increasing. Numbers don't seem very dramatic there, but what I'm more excited about is Ministry of Education. So the Ministry of Education says that there were 19 lakh STEM graduates, okay, of which 44% are women. We're talking about STEM here, okay? 50 lakh graduates in other fields. 54% women. So think how things are going to change. Let's forget about the past. Let's talk about the next 5 years, 10 years, 20 years. What is our world going to be in 2030? Okay? We talked about startups. I think the speaker before me talked about the fact that women had only 4% of women raise money, etc. But guess what? As per DPIIT, on 15th May 23, the number of women-led startups in the top 3 D2C sectors, personal and home care, food and beverage, and fashion, is 3,644, which is 52% of all startups in the sector. Women-led startups have increased by what? From 130 in 2017 to 3,644 in May 15, 2023, okay? Why are we excited about backing women-oriented companies? One of our big success stories from our first fund was a company called Enamor, which some of you may have heard of. We were the early investors in Enamor. We helped build the company to scale. We sold it. We sold it to a multi-billion-dollar fund called Advent, who bought it in to merge with their men's innerwear company. So for the skeptics out there who think that consumption is consumption and, women consumption and male consumption is the same, it's not, right? It's like comparing fish and bicycle. So we believe that women are going through a very dramatic change. Why are we excited about investing behind, putting money behind this trend? Is that we think that women are going through a very exciting cultural mindset shift. Whereas, let's say, earlier, women had discretionary income, whether from, their husbands or their parents, or they were working. They were not spending it on themselves. They were spending it on their husbands, their in-laws, their children. They always came later. That's changing now. We study these trends. We study these trends because we invest behind them, right? And that is changing. So the young woman today is saying, listen, if I'm not happy, I'm not healthy, and I'm not fit, then my family isn't either. So it's not that she's selfish by putting herself first, it just makes sense, right? So what does this mean in terms of the a whole investment market? I come back to that, right? It's like we're talking about $1 trillion market. And what does this mean for women entrepreneurs, all of you, is that women are now accumulating wealth faster than men, okay? Which is the core evidence behind my professor's prediction that by 2030, more than half of the world's wealth will be owned by women. And women increasingly are becoming entrepreneurs. He predicts that by 2030, half of all new business ventures, I'm not talking about fashion, I'm not talking about D2C, I'm talking about half of all new business ventures, technical fields, STEM, all of that, right? You will have more than 50% of new businesses being launched by women. And he says 2030 is going to be the year where the end of an era. The end of an era where most of wealth was created, owned, and managed by men. He predicts that financial markets are in for a huge transformation. Are we ready for this change? We have to move from being creators of wealth to being very comfortable with wealth, to actively managing wealth. And as a woman fund manager, as one of the first women-founded and owned private equity funds in the country, I can tell you a little bit, I've thought a lot about this. Why is women participation in my industry so low? How many women private equity fund managers have you seen that have come and spoken to you or will speak to you? There's less than one hand I can count. I know my peers really well. There's very few of us, right? Morningstar says fund management in India, now the entire fund management, forget owning and founding a fund, forget that, right? I'm just saying working in a fund management, has 8% women, which is drastically low even if I compare to other fields like law. 15% of senior lawyers are women. Medicine, even medicine has much better statistics in India, 17%. Accountants, decent percentage, 27% of CAs are women. But in fund management, it is abysmally low, right? Why? I believe that one of the reasons is age-old stereotypes and gender biases. Doctors, lawyers, auditors, you still feel it's a support function. Somebody walking into a room and saying, hey, I'm going to fund this. Yikes. Oh my God, so scary, right? And there's a false narrative that investing is for men. And this bias is deeply ingrained in both men and women. I can build this business, Baba, but you take care of the money part, huh? Okay? Fund management is viewed as very tough, intense, very competitive, has not traditionally attracted women. And I believe that women have stayed away is one of the reasons their own mindset. I'm not cut out for all this, yeah. In fact, the reality could not be further from the truth. The reality is that women make terrific investors, which is why I started with my limited data points, right? IFC's Gender Smart Investing Report says gender balanced funds realized, sorry, I'm going to use some jargon here, excess net internal rate of return, we live and die by that, little bit more returns, by almost 2 percentage points per year than male-nominated funds. There are lots of reasons why I think women make terrific investors, right? Men tend to be overconfident. I'm generalizing, sorry, okay? But so forgive me for that. But men tend to be more overconfident when it comes to investing. They think they know more than they do. So it can lead them to trade too much, take too much risk, and invest in companies they don't fully understand. What will we do? We'll say we don't know as much. We're not as confident. We're more risk averse. Guess what my job is? I manage risk. So if I have a woman sitting there and saying, I'm really scared, that's wonderful. Because she's going to tell me every single risk out there. And my job is to manage that risk, right? It sounds like a bad thing, but it's actually a wonderful thing. Women do much more research. They rely a lot less on that gut feeling. A male investor will walk into a room and say, I just had an awesome feeling about this guy. The graveyard is littered with those deals, right? We don't say that. We come in saying, hey, we just got to do a lot of work. Nice meeting, but we have to do so much work now. And so it's not just us. Studies have shown that women trade less. We're less apt to time the market. We have much less ego involved in our investments than our male counterparts. We also see things from a holistic perspective. We see all the potential risks in an investment. Enough studies out there to show that men suffer much more from confirmation bias. I already know this to be true, and all the data is just supporting what I already know. But women come in saying, hey, we're not really sure. I think we know a little bit, but we'd love to know more. That's just wonderful for investing. I love talking about a book by Lou Anne Lofton, and very timely. Does anybody know who from the investing world passed away recently? Charlie Munger. So I'm going to talk about his partner, Warren Buffett. And there's this Financial Times editor called Lou Anne Lofton, New York Times editor. She studied the habits of Warren Buffett, and then she compared them to research about men and women and investing and money. And she said, Buffett is really feminine in the way that he invests. He doesn't trade too much. He's made most of his wealth from a few stocks. He does a lot of research. He does a lot of homework. And she went and met him and said that, I think you invest like a girl. And he said, I plead guilty to that. So, and when I started the platform in 2011, my first investor pitch, and I was saying this in the media bite earlier, I had been wanting to build something in the mid-market. I've been trained for that. I studied in the US. I worked there, started my career on Wall Street. I worked for other large private equity funds, and I wanted to start my own in the mid-market. And when I was, somebody said, hey, Shivani, you keep talking about this. Why don't you go and meet such and such investor? And when I did, and I gave him the pitch, he said, I'm really excited. I would love to back you. Now, if I was a man, I would have leaned across the table and said, thank you so much, da-da-da, whatever. But I'm a woman, okay? I was also 5 months pregnant. So I said, oh, okay, I didn't expect this. Wait a minute, I'm 5 months pregnant. And he turned around and said, congratulations. And I wasn't sure if he'd heard me. I said, you want to back me with this much money? And I just told you that I was 5 months pregnant. So all these thoughts were going in my head, right? But anyway, I put it away, went back home, met my husband and said, I had a really interesting day today. This happened to me. And he turned around and said, congratulations. And I said, wow. So here, I'm holding myself back. I'm doubting myself. Whereas all these men around me are saying, congratulations, right? Which means it can be done. And then I applied for my license. My son was born on February 1st, 2010. I got my SEBI license on February 2nd, 2010. So in a way, I have twins. I have a teenage boy, and I have invested my first fund, as I mentioned earlier, exited it, given my investors really great returns, investing out of my second fund now. How many of you in this room take the primary role for allocating finances for your family? Main role. Awesome. That is really awesome. That is really awesome. Okay. Voya Financial Services, an American financial retirement and insurance company that manages 18,000 crores. Sorry, that's a lot of zeros, as somebody said earlier. Announced in March 20 some very interesting insights about male and female saving habits. Who saves more? Women. Women save more. Yeah? Every year that we save more compounds. And we are saving more. We are investing outside of our retirement accounts, right? What is the second stereotype? Women are poor decision makers. One reason women have stayed away from top jobs is a societal stereotype that makes men and women believe that the boardroom or corner office. Sorry? Yeah. Okay. 2 minutes, so yeah, 2 stereotypes left. 1 minute each. The boardroom or corner office is owned by the alpha male. Has anyone read Sapiens? Yeah. What does Yuval Noah Harari say? He calls these guys pub psychologists. They become a psychologist after 3 beers, right? So they say that they explain why men have better jobs. Men have better jobs, higher salaries, fast cars, because, because of the ancestry of the hunter-gatherer alpha male. By the way, new scientific journals are saying that both men and women hunted together. I don't know if anybody knows that, but anyway, but this is the 3 beers talking. But aggression has a very weak link with authority. Managing a war requires guile and tact, the ability to manage, to cooperate. Women have often been stereotyped as better manipulators, better appeasers. So he says, by that logic, that should make them natural bosses and leaders. So a mother of 3 should be a much better leader than a carefree bachelor, by that logic, right? And the final stereotype that I want to leave you with, because I've been told that I'm almost out of time, women are bad with money. Money is power. So when people tell you that you are bad with money, what they really mean is they don't want you to be comfortable with the ordinary exchange of power and capitalism. That's what it really means. So when someone says, hey, but women are bad with money, you should be immediately thinking, oh yeah? Because you don't want me to be powerful. Yeah? They don't want you to trust your instincts. And I will leave you with these things. A UK study revealed that women's investment portfolio came out by 0.8%. A 21 study by Bank of New York Mellon showed that if women invested at the same rate as men, there would be an extra $3.2 trillion of assets under management from private individuals. So I know I have to go. And I've thrown a lot of numbers. I've thrown some jargon, okay? But the point of all of this is, let's get comfortable with wealth. Yeah? Let's just get comfortable, not just creating it, let's get comfortable managing it. Let's tell our daughters fund management is a great business for them. They're very well suited. We are very well suited for this. Let's manage money internally. Let's be the primary managers of money in our household. Yeah? Let's shatter these stereotypes. So let's get out of our comfort zone. Thank you, guys. Thank you.